This video has been put together to help you work on your budget for College Core. So what I've done is I have set my Canvas to student view. So you can see here I'm currently logged in to view it the way that it should appear to you as a student. I went up to the budget due. Now you'll notice in my example there's no due date because there are 5 or 6 different College Core classes going on this trimester, and so each professor will have a slightly different due date depending if you take the class on Monday or if you take the class on Tuesday or something like that. Your budget is going to be worth 100 points. And keep in mind, it's not just your budget, it's everything that goes along with your budget. You can submit it as a file upload, and there's a place to submit your assignment. So here are the directions. It says budget. Using the provided template, students will create a personal budget. And if you go down here and you click on this, it will take you to a Google budget form. But before I click on that, let me show you what you're going to do with this budget. So using the template provided, which is this template up here, you're going to create a personal budget. So that's the first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to figure out how much money am I taking in and how much money am I spending out. After you create the budget, which you'll do in here, you're going to look at the budget and you're going to look at your money coming in and your money going out, and you're going to think to yourself, how do these relate to each other? Do I have just enough? Do I have too much going out and not enough coming in? Am I tithing at all? What's happening with my budget? So you'll use this template to help you create your budget. Then you'll create it and then you'll think about it. You'll spend time looking at what you've created on this budget form. And then you'll write a 1-page response to my budget paper. And in this 1-page paper, you're going to reflect upon your budget. You don't have to impress any of your professors and say, oh, I tithe $1 million every month. We really want you to be honest with how do you feel about your budget. You're going to include a graph of some kind related to your budget. It can be something as simple as a pie chart showing where the different parts of your budget go. It could be something as simple as a bar chart graph showing where you wish your money was going. So you have to include in your response to my budget paper your own personal reflection and a graph of some kind related to your budget. And then we want you to note areas in your budget where you're happy. You're like, wow, I'm really happy that I have this, special money coming from my church every month. That's a great blessing to me. Or I'm really happy that I canceled my cable subscription while I'm in college so I can save money. Whatever you're happy about. And then some areas that you're sad about where you're like, oh man, I really am sad that I had to lose my job right before I started my college career. And now I feel like I don't have enough money coming in. So that's going to be a part of your reflection, how you're feeling about your budget. So you're going to, just to recap, you're going to use that to make a budget. Then you're going to think about what your budget looks like. Then you're going to look at it and think about your money in and your money out and how they relate to each other. In your 1-page respond to my budget paper, you're going to reflect on your budget and include some kind of graph related to your budget. Note areas that you're happy about and areas you are sad about regarding how you currently take in and spend money. And then most importantly, note how you will make any needed changes in the future. And so in your reflection paper, your response to my budget paper, you could say, in the future, I am not going to eat out as much as I used to. I'm going to get another job. I'm going to move back in with my parents. I'm going to get a roommate. I doubt that there's any one of you that doesn't need to make at least 1 or 2 small changes to how you're taking in money and how you're spending money. So make sure in your response to my budget paper that you have some information showing how you need to make any changes in the future. While this is in a Google sheet, kind of like an Excel sheet, this needs to be in normal paragraph form following the normal rules of Turabian. You're going to post the budget, which is here, and the 1-page response to my budget paper to Canvas. And so this is where you're going to submit those 2 assignments. When you finish doing this, you might have to save it to Google Drive, or you might have to save it to your computer so that you can then have it on your computer and post it into that assignment. How's this going to be graded? The very thing that I want you to look at in every area here is where it says capital student. This is the bottom line for what you need to do. The student interprets created graph related to budget. So if you make a graph and you interpret it well, you get a lot of points. If you kind of interpret it a little bit, if you really don't interpret it very well, if you don't have an interpretation or you completely left your graph out of this paper, you lose all those points. Bottom line here, a student creates and inserts a graph related to the budget. So here you're going to tell us what your graph is going to be about, and here you've actually inserted the graph. If the graph really makes a lot of sense, you get a lot of points. If there's no graph, you get 0 points. So it's really important, make sure you follow all these directions. Calculations. Student correctly calculated math within the paper. So within the body of your paper, if you're saying, hey, I took in $100 and I spent $50, that means that I had $2 left. That would be wrong. So make sure that within the body of your paper, if you're saying anything related to calculations, if you say I took in $1,000, I spent $2,000, that means that I have 27 cents left. Again, that would be wrong. So just make sure that when you're doing calculations in your paper that you're doing the math correctly. Bottom line here for the application section, the student shows changes that could be made to improve the budget. If you do that well, you can get a lot of points. If you choose to ignore that part of the paper, you get 0 points. This one, student explains why certain changes would benefit the budget. So again, we're asking you to think about your budget. If you explain why certain changes would benefit the budget and you do that well, then you get a lot of points. If you don't do it well, you don't get as many points. And then this last one, student clearly communicate in written form issues related to the budget. So throughout your whole paper, as your teacher's looking at it, he or she is going to say, okay, they really did that well. It really makes sense how they're, excuse me, how their paper's put together. Or it could be like, well, this person didn't even try. They just hardly even tried to put their paper together at all. So this is the rubric, and those are the amount of points that you can get for it. Let's take some time and actually look at the budget itself. So as I said, you simply click on this, and it will open up in a Google document. It's called Budget for College Core. You can see that it's me, Dr. Frady, that created this budget for you guys to use. So let's go through this really slowly so that everybody can understand, because maybe you've never done a budget before. One important thing I want you to see in column A is this red number here. This red number is going to show you, when you're done putting your budget together, what is the difference between the money that you take in and the money that you spend out. So this is going to be an important number to look at. For example, if you take in $100, but you spend out $200, you're going to end up with a negative number over here, which means you're going to be in debt. So don't want you to be in debt. This whole area is the money out. This is where you're going to put money that you're spending. I'm assuming that all of you buy food, that most of you have a cell phone bill. Maybe you have medical bills or health bills, or maybe your parents take care of that. If it's something that you don't take care of, you can leave it as a 0. Maybe you have rent, or maybe you have a mortgage. Maybe you have transportation cost. I'm sure that you have personal items that are personal to you that you buy every month. Hopefully you're giving a tithe to the Lord. Maybe you have a pet that you have to provide medical care for. Maybe you have a pet that you have to buy dog food for. Utilities would be things like your electric bill, your water bill, your gas bill, things that you pay. Do you have travel that you're having to do to get to class or something like that? Do you have debt? Do you have a credit card bill that you're having to pay each month? Do you have internet or cable bills? Do you have school bills? Do you have things that you would just say, I just kind of want to have a little bit of a cushion every month, so I'll call that miscellaneous? Are you putting some money aside every month to save for your future? And here you can create your own custom category for how you want to spend your money. To do that, you just click, and then you can type in, let's say this one, going, sorry about that, going out to eat. If that's something that is important to you and you want to have that as a category. So you could change any of those custom categories. If there's something that's not listed here and you think that you want to make it a custom category, you certainly can. Let's go over to the money coming in area. So this is our money that's coming in. This is what we're getting every month. If you're using some of your savings, that's okay. You could say that's what I'm doing. If you get a paycheck every month, if you get student financial aid every month, it actually comes to you. If your family's supporting you, if you get some kind of ministry paycheck, if you have some other kind of paycheck, if you have money coming in from some category that's not listed, you can do the same thing here, and you can put other family money or wherever, whatever it is that's coming in for you. So we're looking at here money that comes into your wallet or comes into your bank, and we're looking here money that you spend. So you need to think about, are there areas that are not listed here where I'm getting money? And you could put it in the other category. And over here, these are kind of just to get you started thinking about how you're spending your money. If there are places here that you're like, I don't have to spend money on a pet at all, then you don't have to put anything there in the pet area. And if, in fact, even if you want to change, if you're like, I don't have a pet, but I do have children and I feed and clothe my children, you could just change from pets right into children. I'm not going to change that now so that it'll stay the same when you guys see this again. So anyway, as you're looking at this budget, the first thing I want you to think about is your money that you have coming in. In this column, you put what you're planning to have coming into your bank account. And in this column, you put what you actually had come in. So let's say that your family said that they were going to give you $10 a month, but actually, your mom or dad wasn't able to help you. And so in actuality, you have no money from your family for that month. You would see here that there's a difference of negative $10. All right, let me just take that away just to go back to zero. And you'll see when you do that, that goes back to 0 too. So I'm just going to pretend as I show you how to fill this out, and then I'll take it all back to 0 so that when you look at it, it'll all be back at 0. So let's say that I have $100 in savings I can spend each month. Let's say I have a $1,000 paycheck. Let's say I have student aid of $500. My family gives me $500. My grandma gives me $10. My ministry paycheck is $50. My other grandma gives me $10 a month, and that's all. That's what they plan to give me. So I can see here that my planned income is $2,170. So let's say that the month actually comes, and I find that, yes, I do still have $100 in saving. My paycheck was $1,000. My student aid was $500. My family support was $500. My other was $10. Let's say that my ministry paycheck, let's say that I didn't get my ministry paycheck because my church was having problems, and they said, hey, we're sorry, we're going to just have to volunteer here. So I was anticipating getting 50, but I got 0. Let's say that my family still gave me 10. So now when we look over here, we can see that what we planned to get and what we actually got, what the difference was. Okay. Uh-oh, this might be a problem. I was planning to get a ministry paycheck of $50, but actually I got $0. So now I have minus 50. And so when I'm looking up here, I plan to get $2,170 for the month, but in actuality, I actually got $2,120. All right, so let's go over here. And again, this is all pretend. Depending on where you live in the world, these numbers are going to be very, very different. Let's say that for the month you plan to spend $100 on food. Your cell phone is going to be $100. Let's say that your parents pay your health and medical expenses, so you don't have to pay those. Let's say your rent is $250, your transportation is $100. Let's say you know you're going to spend $10 on personal stuff. Let's say you're given a $50 tithe. So you don't have a pet, but you know your utilities are $100. Let's say it takes $50 to travel. Let's say you have $100 in debt. You pay $100 for the internet. Your school bills, let's say, are $250. Miscellaneous, because you want to give yourself a little bit of a cushion. Let's say that you're going to give yourself $100 miscellaneous. You want to save $100 for your future. And as you can see, as I'm inserting these numbers, this number is growing, how much I'm planning. And it shows me over here, this is how much money I have left to work with as I'm planning my budget. So just for fun, we're going to put that you're planning on spending $900 on going out to eat. All right. So this tells me what I've got so far. So let's say that I actually spend $100 on food, but my cell phone bill is $200 that month. And it turns out I have to go to the doctor, and that was an extra $50. My rent was $250. My transportation was $100 as I anticipated. On personal, I ended up spending $100. My tithe, I decided I would still give the $50. Still don't have a pet. My utilities were still $100. My travel, it turned out it was $100. I didn't estimate appropriately. My debt was still $100. I had to pay off a credit card. My internet or cable was $100. My school bill was still $250. My miscellaneous was still $100. My savings for the future, and then I went out to eat for $900. Wow, that's a lot of going out to eat. So we look here and we see that the difference between what I planned and what I actually spent, wow, $190 over. And if I look up here, remember I told you this in the red was going to be very important. This tells me that I am in debt $480. And so let's say that this really happened to me. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm in debt $480. And I want to reflect on this. Well, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say to myself, okay, I plan to get in $2,170. I actually got in $2,120. So perhaps I need to look and see where that difference was. Well, it was right here. My ministry paycheck, there was something happening at my church and my paycheck was late, or it got lost in the mail, or something happened, or maybe I lost my ministry job. Lord forbid, I'm not prophesying that for anybody, but something happened. And so what you had planned to get was not what you actually got. So we lost $50 there. So that's something to think about in your paper. You might write, when I was putting this budget together, and I was thinking about what could happen, I realized that here I might not get the $50 that I thought of. So that's something to reflect upon. Now, when we look over here, we notice that there's one bill that's really, really high. You plan to spend $900 on going out to eat. My goodness, that's a lot of money. And you actually spent $900 on going out to eat. So this could be the point where you say, you know what? I need to make a change in my life. I'm spending $900 a month going out to eat. That's a crazy amount of money. I need to stop that. And so in your paper, you might say something to the effect of, I need to stop going out to eat so much, and I'm not going to do that in the future. And that's going to be something that is really going to change in my life. And so hopefully this has shown you how to put this part of the budget together. Do feel free to ask your professor for questions about if you need help, if you need some support. But really, when you post your budget, you want to make sure that even if you're doing something crazy like spending $900 a month to go out to eat, be honest with your professor, because the whole point of this activity is to help you to look at, what do I have as money coming in, and what do I have as money going out, and what's the difference between those two things, and where are some places that I need to make some changes in my budget. When you post, make sure that you post, even if it's embarrassing like this, you're like, oh my goodness, I had no idea I was spending $900 to go out to eat. You want to post that so that you can look at it, because if you post the truth and then you write your paper about the truth, then your professor can grade accordingly. But if you post a budget that you've changed, if you say, that's it, I'm not going out to eat anymore, and you post this, then your professor's going to see a completely different thing. And if you say to your professor, I was going out to eat for $900 a month, they're not going to see that. So whatever you really put in there, that's what you really need to post. All right. So excited that you guys are learning about budgeting, praying that everybody is having just a fantastic trimester.